Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of CoachX Live, the Institute of Coaching show for everyday coaches and for the Institute of Coaching all over the world. My name is Jeffrey Hull. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute of Coaching, and I am privileged to have a very special guest with me today. Her name is Dr. Neha Sangwan, and she and I had the opportunity to meet a few months ago at a coaching retreat. And I learned so much from her and from her partner, David Goldsmith, who's also a good friend of the Institute of Coaching, that I asked her if she would join us here at a CoachX Live for the Institute, and she graciously said yes. So Dr. Sengwan is here with us today, and if you don't know anything about her, you should. Her work is very special, related to burnout, resilience, taking care of oneself under stress. Needless to say, that is a topic near and dear to many of our hearts as coaches, anyone in the world today. So let me just give you a quick background on Dr. Sengwan, who is the CEO and founder of Intuitive Intelligence. She is an internal medicine physician by training and also an engineer. When you look at her background, it's really quite extraordinary. She's an international speaker, corporate communications expert. She has a private practice and corporate consulting, which focuses on empowering individuals, organizational leaders, and teams with tools for clear, effective communication that addresses the root cause of stress, miscommunication, interpersonal conflict, and healing chronic conditions such as headaches, insomnia, anxiety, and depression, much of which we can all relate to today. And I would say she is the author, I think, of a couple of books, but one that I really want to point out that I received as a gift at the coaching retreat that I attended, called Talk RX: 5 Steps to Honest Conversations That Create Connection, Health, and Happiness. This is a really, really special book. I'm going to dive into some of this with her, but just want to welcome all of you from around the world. Say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're from, where you're coming in from all over. And Neha, it's great to see you.
Oh, it's so great to be with you again, Jeff.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you. Oh, it's a pleasure. And thank you for taking the time to be with us at the Institute of Coaching. You know, I had the opportunity to be live with you, sort of. You were virtual at the time, but it was a live event.
Yep.
And we learned so much as coaches that I really felt like it was important to make people aware of your work, but also give you an opportunity to come and speak on behalf of the Institute of Coaching, where we obviously have a lot of coaches that work with clients around some of these issues like anxiety, stress, resilience, burnout.
Yeah.
And not only do you offer tips, but I think the story that you tell about being a physician, actually learning really from the ground up around the importance of mental and emotional well-being and how that directly impacts incredibly serious health conditions. It's sort of a wake-up call for all of us, really. And then, taking it to the step of some tips that you work with that you've learned from your research and also from your thousands of patients. So I think maybe a good place to start would be a little background of how you came to have these insights as a physician, because I coach a lot of doctors and I love them, but they don't all have the kind of insight that you've had, that you've shared with the world. So to give us a little history of how this all came about.
Sure. Well, if I really gave you the history, it would be that at a young age, I had some trauma, and the way that I dealt with it was I became a people pleaser, and I stopped paying attention to the pain inside me. And I started focusing very heavily on what the world around me wanted. And I became very good at giving it to them. And so I was about 6 years old. I remember walking past my dad's office, and he was talking to one of his friends. And I'm the second daughter. I'm the middle daughter of 3. And I overheard him, this people pleaser in me overheard him saying, yeah, just my luck. The second one was a girl too. All I've ever wanted was a son who could be an engineer alongside following my footsteps.
Uh,
And I don't think I consciously thought anything, but I'm pretty sure I picked up on that. And then I overheard my mom saying, wow, I missed my calling to be a doctor because, my parents wondered what kind of wife and mother I would be if I had a pager as my first priority on my hip over my partner and my family and all of this. And so, I really hope one of my daughters becomes a physician. And the people pleaser in me, boy, did I figure out, wow, I'm good at math and science. I love people. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. So I'll do mechanical and biomedical engineering first. I'll go to med school and become an internal medicine physician. Really, all that means for people listening is I'm a very good Indian child. That's what that means. Because they don't ask you what you want to do in your life. They ask you whether you're going to be an engineer or a doctor. So you grow up believing that there's two choices. And so once I figured that out, boy, I did them both. And 4 years into practice in the hospital as an internal medicine physician, I promptly burned out. And so I think what I really learned was these tactics we adopt much younger often follow us for a long time. And our bodies are so sophisticated in adjusting physiologically our blood pressure. I mean, just from sitting to standing up, the number of things that happen in your own biology to adjust for you to be able to do that. Just imagine how we do it right through our days. We're using coffee, we've got all sorts of ways that we adjust from the outside and our physiology on the inside. And so it took those 34 years for all of that to catch up to me and for it to stop me in my tracks. And really the people pleasing, how that ties in here is I remember as a young doctor on the hospital team, anytime somebody couldn't take a night shift or whatever it was, I would volunteer to do it because I wanted to be seen as a really great team player. Like I'm that people pleaser, like me, right?
Yeah, it all sounds great.
Yeah. But what I really did was I learned to push through my body rather than partner with it.
Oh, interesting.
And that only lasts a certain amount of time.
Yeah, there's a limit to how much you can push yourself, right?
You bet. But our schooling doesn't teach us that. Our schooling teaches us that we're superhuman, but all of you who end up in our care, I really want you to eat a different diet, walk every day, sleep well, right? But we are superheroes for pushing through our own body to serve and take care of others.
So you pushed through your own body and then woke up one day and realized this isn't going to work anymore? Or was it your patience?
Oh no, I didn't realize it because that's not usually how it works when you're that committed to the outside world, which so many people are, right? It was, I walked in, it was the final day of a rotation in the hospital. So that means I'm signing off patients in addition to seeing everybody. And in 5 hours, I had only seen 2 of my 18 patients. I wasn't aware of this. I kept going, but I didn't realize how slow I was going. I walked up to the nurse and I said, hey, Nina, could you please get me 40 milliequivalents of IV potassium for the gentleman in 636? And she looked at me and she said, Dr. Sengwan, are you okay? And that was my first indication I might not be. And I said, yeah, why? And she said, because that is the 4th time in under 5 minutes you've asked me that same question, and I've answered you every time.
Ouch.
And so what I would say is when you are as driven as I was, I give up paying attention to my own heart racing, stomach turning, throat constricting, shoulder hurting, all the signs that are much more subtle that are giving our clues much earlier. I blow right past those because all I want to do is please you. All I want to do is get an A. All I want to do is make sure the world thinks I'm successful. And when I do that, I miss the most important clues I've got, which are my own body in constant communication with me, telling me that it needs me to partner with it, not push through it.
So you actually lived through this yourself. I mean, you write about in the book the patients that you worked with.
Yeah.
And the conversations you ultimately leading you to this key series of conversations that you recommend for you have with yourself and with key people. But it sounds like you actually learned it from within yourself over time.
Yeah, that's the second book. The second book is called Powered by Me. And that took me 20 years to deconstruct, understand, and heal myself before I could write coherently in a way that would bottom line and really help people. I actually have it here. I'll grab it. But Powered by Me looks like this. That's this.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's from burned out to fully charged at work and in life. And that's the one that after this. So what you're talking about with TalkRx is how initially my patients taught me where the physical crisis ends and coaching begins.
Okay.
And there's this gap that I really figured out. I figured out that the medical world is really interested when there's a physical breakdown.
Right.
And we can take someone who fractured their arm, who is sick, whose blood pressure is dropping, who has an abnormal heart rhythm, whatever, heart attack, stroke, pneumonia, and bring them back to where they were. But here's the thing. Once I am discharging someone, I have just taken them through a huge milestone crisis in their life. Their whole world is broken open. Their heart is broken open. And they're like, wow, I never thought I'd be the 52-year-old with cancer or heart attack or stroke or whatever it is. Never imagined this. And then I use that sacred moment when I'm discharging them to say, take 2 pills twice a day and come see me in 2 weeks. Bye. But that moment, that's the sacred aha moment where coaching gets to come in and help them figure out what's underneath that stress. And so what you're reading about in TalkRx were the 5 questions I started to ask my patients once they were stabilized from their physical crisis and before they left to go out in the world. So on burnout leave, I was researching what's at the root of all of this.
Right.
And I found research showing that stress causes or exacerbates more than 80% of all illness. More than 80. So I came back to work and I was like, hey guys, you're never going to believe this. I think we're all burned out. Did you know that stress causes or exacerbates more than 80% of all illness? And if that's true, that's probably why our patients come back in with another heart attack, another stroke. We keep seeing them like a revolving door.
Right.
What if we asked them before we discharged them, once they were physically stable, what if we asked them what was at the root of their stress? So I asked 50 of my colleagues separately. They all gave me some version of this answer. First of all, Neha, we don't know where you find the time to do this. Okay,
Yeah,
we don't have
there's no time, right?
And I was always the doctor who left late at like 8 or 9 at night. But secondly, just like I wouldn't order a diagnostic test that I didn't know what to do with the result, why would I ask a question I don't know what to do with the answer?
Oh, right. So it's just not there.
It hit me like a ton of bricks. This isn't their wheelhouse. They don't want to do it. They don't know the nuances. This is where the physical crisis ends and the coaching begins. And so that was a really big aha moment to me. And there's one more really important statistic that I think we should know. 2 years ago, the American Institute of Stress said that burnout is a growing epidemic, currently costing in the US alone $300 billion a year.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's amazing.
Right? And 75 to 90% of patients who go into a doctor's office come out without any physical cause. 75 to 90%.
Wow.
90. So just imagine this. Hey, doc, I've got this chest discomfort. So I go in, I do an EKG, I make sure the electrical rhythm's fine. They're not having a heart attack. Their heart's pumping well. So then I come out and I say this to them. You're fine. Don't worry about it. You're fine. You're not, your heart's great. You're doing fine. And they walk out a little confused, like, but I don't feel fine. Like, what does that do to how I'm feeling? And this just really speaks to how we have never been raised to decipher those physical clues in our bodies. And
Right.
so we go out in the world and we keep pushing through it. And then we go to a doctor tells us we're fine, but it's really something unresolved on a mental, emotional, social, and spiritual level that shows up finally in our body to get our attention.
I love that, because I think what you're pointing to is the role of the coach becomes extraordinarily important at times when resilience, stress, anxiety, when something is showing up on their, maybe not even in their speaking, just in the way they appear.
That's right.
And what you're offering based on your experience with so many patients is a powerful set of tools to
Mhm.
help people reflect on what's really going on. I would love you, I know we don't have a lot of time, but give us a
Yep.
flavor for
Sure.
some of those steps, because you went through them with us at the retreat, and it's really powerful for coaches to start to think about the way they can support their clients, even when they may not even know, they may not, like you said, they may not be a real noticeable physical manifestation.
So here's the first thing. Any physical manifestation needs to see a medical provider until proven otherwise. Once they get a clear bill of health, those 75 to 90% get a clear bill of health, but they still don't feel fine, then you start thinking about the underlying stress. It's the second line. Something I'd start with is, you know how I told you the night, once I stabilized my patients, the night before I discharged them, I'd ask them 5 questions. I call that the awareness prescription. I'm going to
Right.
share it to you in the context of how I did it with those patients, but I want you to know this is not medical only. It works for conflict, why someone didn't get a promotion, a divorce, whatever people are going through. So coaches are going to be able to relate this to them, but I'll give you the 5 questions of the awareness prescription. Question number 1, why this? So why a heart attack? Why not your liver or your left leg? What's the significance of this part of your body breaking down? For coaches, they'd be saying, what's the significance of this part of your life and your world breaking down? Your personal life, whatever it is. So I'd say, why your heart, not your liver or your left leg? Why this? So they journal about that. Question number 2, why now? Why not 3 years ago? Why not 2 weeks from now? What's the message your body needed you to get that you weren't getting, that it stopped you in your tracks in a hospital bed?
Mm,
Question number 3. Since hindsight's 2020, what signals, clues, patterns might you have missed along the way that make perfect sense right now? Question number 4. What else in your life needs to be healed? And
mm,
question number 5, if you spoke from the heart, what would you say to me?
wow.
And my goodness, 7,000 patients knew exactly what was at the root of their ailments and their stress and what was causing why they ended up there. And those 5 questions, why this, why now, hindsight's 2020, what signal, clue, symptom, pattern did that you missed could you be having right now? What else in your life needs to be healed? And if you spoke from the heart, what would you say? You can use those to help that bridge and help them with their intuition in nearly any situation. So, the awareness prescription.
I mean, what you're pointing to is that there's almost always a physical manifestation at the outset that we're either aware of or not speaking to or not attending.
Mhm.
And then it's sort of a dive deeper down into an emotional space,
Yeah.
to a reflective space, and ultimately a spiritual space.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, it isn't obvious as a physician that you can get your patients to go to those places. But the fact that you can do it as a physician means we should be able to do it as coaches. Like,
You bet. People just want someone they trust to be present enough and care enough to create that space.
What is your technique that you use as a physician, or maybe even as a coach,
Mhm.
when you can sort of sense that something's off in the energy of the person?
Mhm.
It could be a high-powered leader. I work with a couple of high-powered female leaders, actually, that are just like almost like you, I suppose, like in the sense of being really super achievers.
Yeah.
And I may notice something a little off in terms of their balance of their lifestyle, or I don't know. I don't want to give you a specific example, but I'm curious, like, where do you enter into that space as a physician or as a coach to
Mhm.
try to get people to shift into thinking self-reflectively?
Yeah. So, first of all, alignment, I think, is absolutely key. Noticing when something is not quite aligned. So, it can show up so the way you and I are communicating right now, we're communicating through words, through
Right.
tone, through body language, right? Anytime those don't match or something is off, that's usually one way it shows up, right? So I'm like, fine, fine, go ahead, Jeff. Yeah, yes, I'll get it to you by Friday. My words are not matching, my tone is not matching my. If, as a coach, I'm asking someone, I'm moving into the end of my session and I'm starting to move them into action. And I'm saying, well, what's one thing you can do about what we talked about today? And suddenly there's a drop in energy. Well, I mean, I guess I could commit 15 minutes a day to cleaning up the paperwork in my office. Okay, okay, great. That's a great place to start. No, 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 no. If you didn't just pick up that you asked them to move to action and they lost all their energy and they're doing it out of obligation, not inspiration, you
Mm,
just missed. You missed that you didn't get to the root cause of what's going on here. You band-aided it. You band-aided it until the next time. And guess what? This is going to be something you'll be dealing with them again on.
right. Yeah,
Right.
basically you leaped over what was really going on, which was the shift, the downshift of energy is a form of avoidance or deflection.
And wanting to be a good client, like, listen, I want to make this useful, I want to make it practical, I paid some money, I used some time, like, I want to be someone who's successful, so I want to be making progress even if it's not real progress,
Do
right?
you have a special way of going through these interactions with your patients quickly? Because the challenge that you received feedback on was, it sounds great, Dr. Sangwan, but I don't have time
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go to that length of investigation with my client, with my patients.
You bet.
And I'm curious how you address that.
Yeah, so let me start with TalkRx, because one thing books do is they make you decode you. So TalkRx, 5 steps to honest conversations that create connection, health, and happiness. There's 5 steps to leaning into healthy conflict. So first of all, I want to tell you, Jeff, if you and I had a conflict between us, which we don't, but if we did, it would sit right between us, okay?
Right.
Except if I avoid it, guess what? It doesn't go away. It just shifts where it is from between us to being inside me. So it
Mm.
grows bigger. Now I'm brushing my teeth at night and I'm like, oh, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, why didn't I say something to him?
Yeah, you think about it all the time, right?
It's consuming my mental and emotional real estate. I'm up at night, right? Like, all things start happening. So conflict doesn't go away. It just shifts position when you don't address it. These 5 steps. The first thing you do, and I'm going to give you another tool here that you asked how to communicate with someone. With this high-powered client that you spoke of, some of your female clients, just state very simply what you're observing. Hey, Neha, when we were on our call and I asked you XYZ, I saw you cross your arms and look down when you answered it, or look up, whatever it is. What happened? It's as simple as the curiosity tool, where you state what you have objectively picked up on.
Right.
You don't give any thoughts on it. You just ask, what happened? What happened in that moment? Right? When so and so walked in, or there was a knock on the door. What just happened? Your energy. I just noticed a shift in your tone. I just noticed your energy dropped. Tell them what you're noticing. Give them data and then just shift to the question. Now, if you take all of that with conflict, what I'd say is the number one thing is I found from all these patients I surveyed asking them those questions that a majority of their stress came from their inability to decipher their own body's communication, that physiology, that body
Mm,
map I was talking to you about. I get throat constriction and stomach turning anytime I'm not speaking my truth. If I'm
mm,
holding back, whoo, I know that signal. Each one of us has a unique way that our body talks to us long before we're sick.
right.
And the question is, do you know your own body map? And so the first step in this is I tag, like, imagine each of us as a human skyscraper. We're all different shapes, different sizes. So I tag the top of you and I call that the outline of you, your body. It's a data sensory machine. It's picking up data everywhere, externally and internally. Heart racing, stomach turning. You take all that data, get in the elevator, move down into the next floor, which most people have a penthouse on. It's the thoughts floor. When the elevator opens here, you're integrating the internal data and the external data you've picked up, and you're turning them into a narrative, into stories, meaning,
Story.
right?
Yeah.
So then you get in the elevator, and depending on which story you decide to believe, you get in the elevator, you go down, and you open on the heart floor, except for most people, there's a fire raging here. There's no floorboards. There's do not enter, danger signs here. So what do? We very craftily build an escape route back up to think our way out of how we feel, or an escape ladder down to the floor, which I call like action, where you go out and connect with other skyscrapers to, to do our way out of feeling. And that was
Right.
definitely me. Then you get back in the elevator, you come down, that's in the abdomen. That's where we create, we connect. It's like, what do you desire? What do you want? And then you get back in the elevator, go down, and it's, what are we going to do about it? So what I do and what I'd be happy to do if you have any way to give this to them is there's an I5 conversation summary sheet that I basically help you ask the questions you need to say, what did you notice outside of you, inside of you? What story did you make up about it? Is that true? How do you feel in this moment? Right. And then what do you want in this conversation or this conflict? What do you want for yourself? What do you want for the other person? What do you want for the exchange? And then when you go to action, I ask, what have you done before in the past? What are you doing different now? And what do you want to ask for? What are you going to do differently moving forward? And so what I do is I take those five: body, thoughts, heart, emotions, desires, and action, and I just ask questions around them so that the person themselves, when they're having in a conflict, can journal about it. And then it can be a coaching conversation where they talk through it, get really clear, and then maybe practice how they want to communicate during conflict.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, I really appreciate your taking us just quickly through the levels, because I think that what you started with at the beginning is so core to why this is so important, which is to just know statistically that about 80% of everything that's going on with us is stress related.
Mhm.
And that before we end up with real serious physical symptoms with ourselves or our clients, there is a process that you've
You-
outlined that is actually fairly straightforward. And I think most coaches do some elements of this, but what I really love about it is that you're integrating all the different key elements: the somatic, the physical, the mental, and the storytelling that we do to sort of avoid one or the other, or to get stuck in the rut of this one or whichever. So we're going to run out of time, but I want to really encourage anyone who likes this idea of integrating the somatic, the emotional, the spiritual, and this thing up here called our brain, which is running the way too much of the conversation most of the time, to get a copy of this wonderful book. I have invited Dr. Sengwan to become part of our teaching staff for the next mental health literacy course we're going to do for coaches. She's doing some wonderful work with coaching.com. So keep your eye out for her. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us. It was a great opportunity for me to learn from you. And I think our coaches will all benefit from being able to bring this kind of work to our clients, because we want the world to be healthier and more resilient. And that's where we can really make a difference. So thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. And if you're good with it, Jeff, would you mind if I just put in the chat? Some people are writing, can I have that link or whatever to the...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this will be live on LinkedIn.
Great.
So you can follow up with anyone who has a question.
I need to make sure I know how to put it in here. Join the chat. Here we go. And I'm gonna, maybe.
Or you can do it after, because it'll be on LinkedIn.
Great. Okay, I will, because I'll tell them what it is, and then I'll do it after. It's Intuitive Intelligence Inc. intuitiveintelligenceinc.com/I5, IFIVE. And you can download that worksheet that you were asking about. And I think I even have videos of me taking clients through it on that site. So
definitely worth your time, folks. So encourage you to get her work and to stay in touch with us. And I want to thank you again. And we will see you soon, hopefully as one of our teachers in our course that we're developing. So take care, everyone. Thanks for taking the time. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Jeff.